Are you afraid to admit you're an atheist? You're not alone, studies show. In the face of declining religiosity in the United States, the silent struggle of atheists grappling with social stigma and discrimination has been illuminated in a comprehensive year long study by Dr. Dena Abbott, an assistant professor of counseling psychology at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Abbott's research, which involved 600 atheists, half of whom are women and half are residing in rural areas, underlines the reticence of atheists in publicly expressing their non belief. Quote, both rural and women identifying atheists were thoughtful about not sharing large parts of their worldview, Abbott emphasized. The study unveils a deep rooted social pressure and discrimination that these groups face, from stereotypes as being sexually immoral for female atheists to rural atheists' limited access to secular health care. Ultimately, Abbott's work aims to arm mental health professionals with insights to better support their non religious clients, underscoring the profound effect of identity and experienced discrimination on psychological well being. So this is really interesting. And Dee found this story and she wanted to make sure that we cover this because it's important for people to know that even so technically like atheists are, I believe, one of the fastest growing religious groups in America or belief-based groups. And yet in America, there are still lots of people that hide their secular identity, even in America. And so she thought that that was really important to cover and highlight for other people like know and understand that. And the issues that they face, I thought were particularly interesting. So one of these things that this study looked at was, for example, one nuance that I found fascinating was that for female atheists, one of the things that they struggled with was not necessarily the fact that they were atheist or but they struggled with was the fact that they refused to conform to Christian cultural norms. And because of that, they are labeled as sexually immoral because they're not falling into those roles and tropes. And I thought that was so interesting because I actually think that that spoke a lot to my own experience as well. It's like I don't really struggle that much with the fact that I'm an atheist or like I don't really face that much like problems with it in my life or whatever, but within like the culture of like my family system, like my sexuality like is a contention because it's not falling under a Christian worldview. So I thought that was really interesting. Armin, what do you think about that?
I was thinking, is there a way that we could use this as a way to promote, to get all the benefits that Muslims, Jews, um, LGBT, and other minorities have gotten protection in the workplace and against discrimination? Like, can't we like use this study as a way to start mobilizing some political activism to get people to be basically put that as a threat to people who might want to discriminate against atheists? Because right now, if you suspect that you have been, like, if you go to apply for a job and you're a Muslim, a lot of employers are worried, rightfully so, to discriminate against you for being a Muslim. You know what I mean? Like, you could get in serious trouble if people find out that this had any influence at all in your decision making process, right? However, they're not afraid to do that with atheism because those levels of protections doesn't exist, and it's not even a taboo thing that people refer to, right? So now that we have studies, like, we should like utilize these studies as a way to start creating that taboo, start creating a backlash. It needs to cost society something for it to be bigoted against atheists.
Mm.
So is there a way that you think that we could like start mobilizing and making that a thing, that this type of discrimination, for it not to be okay?
I think that would require more people adopting atheist as a positive identity that they choose instead of just non-religious as a negative identity that they no longer belong in. You know what I mean? So it's like actually it's an identity group that you affirm instead of something that you are leaving and just leaving behind. I think that's the biggest thing.
Hmm.
Because if you look at the statistics, the amount of Americans that self-identify as an atheist is still very small, but the amount that just say that I'm non-religious is huge and growing year over year over year. And there are like no signs of it. I mean, as generations continue, we're just going to see that more and more. But that's obviously very different than an affirmative identity of being an atheist.
That's actually a very good point. This is why we're trying to normalize set people saying it's not just about not believing in God. Okay, you people using that label atheist and saying it without shame. It's an important part of the activism, and it has it makes a difference. Okay, so if you are an atheist, please try mentioning to people that you are an atheist. It's important to say that.
I
It's
mean, you don't
important
have
that
to
you
come
acknowledge.
out, the front gate saying it, but if it comes up, you don't have to run away from it. You don't bust down the front door. I'm an atheist. Like,
Well, but if you could find an excuse to mention to people, it helps because you're part of normalizing it.
yeah, I want to
If
read
you
this
do that,
comment
yeah.
by D. I think it's really good. She's saying it is so problematic that in the US, atheism is seen as immoral. We have to keep saying we are atheists to normalize it. Exactly. We have to destigmatize it. And that's exactly why the name of our organization is what it is, right? Because
Mm,
we're trying to take away that stigma. We're not secular, we're not humanists. No, we're atheists, and that's okay. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a dirty word. There are so many atheists who treat atheist as a dirty word. It's kind of actually a huge problem in the secular community.
exactly. All right, we got a super chat. Do you want to read this one?
Ooh, beautiful. Thank you, Trells, for the super chat.
Mm.
Armin recently said, quote, even if Muhammad had sex with all the grannies in his town, it still would not make Aisha okay. Wait, what? So isn't it time for Cougar Khadija and Boy Toy Muhammad art to counter Daniel Gikajo?
Yeah, that would be a good one. We should do that.
What is the context of Muhammad having sex with grannies?
Because a lot of Muslims, okay, say that Muhammad cannot be a PDF file. And it's okay that he did that
Oh,
because he also had sex with Khadija, who was a lot older than her, right? So there's 2 points. First of all,
checkmate,
please,
atheists.
yeah, check, like, okay, it basically, I said it's kind of like saying that, you know, I'm a doctor and I saved people's lives. So can you forgive this murder? Can you please not call me a murderer? That's offensive. I saved people's life. That was just one time that I murdered somebody. Okay. So it's kind of like that. Also, that's not even a good example because you didn't save anybody by having sex with Khadija. Um, yeah, but so that is, you cannot excuse Muhammad's intercourse with a 9-year-old just because he also had sex with older women. One, also, it's very important. I know I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but stop calling Muhammad a PDF file. He's a child molester, not a PDF file, because that is a mental condition. That's a disease that should be treated. It's not, we're not trying to demonize people's mental conditions. We're trying to what we are against is the action, right? So Muhammad is much worse than a PDF file. He's a child molester. He might maybe, there are many people that have that mental condition that know better enough to not act upon it, and that is not something that should be demonized, because demonizing that mental condition, it puts more children at risk, because these people who have this mental condition, if you need to be able to tell psychologists that they have that, because so that they could get treated, because if they feel so isolated and so demonized that they can't share this with anybody, there's a more likelihood that they're going to take action upon it. These people need your support and sympathy, because they are born with a mental condition that needs to be treated, or at least it can't be treated. At least it needs to be contained, not treated, because it's not treatable, right? So again, it's not the mental disorder that is the problem; it's the action that we have a problem with, and that's child abuse and child molestation, which that is what Muhammad is guilty of, not to be a PDF file. And oh, we got another super chat.
Shaika, thank you for the super chat. 100 rupees saying religious people go more crazy when they see a female atheist compared to a male atheist. They think a female atheist would challenge their patriarchy. This is a lot of
On
it.
average.
This is a lot of it. Like Ali Rizvi, he says like you cannot be a feminist and promote religion. It's just antithetical. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they get a lot more crap on average. The female atheists, I've seen how much more crap they get relative to male ones. It's insane. Oh, I like this one. The base Armin take. Thank you.